going, we don't need roads. Hey everybody, and welcome back to my channel. I am Ken with Mid-Level Media, back again today for another review of a Back to the Future film. And today we are going to be talking about Back to the Future Part 2. So that is right, this is my Part 2 of my Back to the Future 4K review series, and I decided to review all of these individually because I love all of these films. They've been a part of my life forever, and a part of me just wants to talk about them on an individual basis and highlight what each one of these films means to me. It would have been much easier to just watch all of these in 4K and review them all at once, but I like to break down each one of these films because they are very special films to me. Before I get into this one, guys, I want to ask that if you are not yet a subscriber of the Mid-Level Media channel, please do yourself a favor and hit that subscribe button. I do all kinds of great, amazing content on this channel, mostly centered around the world of physical media, new 4K and Blu-ray reviews. I do weekly Blu-ray hunts where I take you on the stores and show you all the new releases, physical media updates, Dollar Tree hauls, Dollar General hunts, live streams with other collectors every single Tuesday night. So do yourself a favor, hit that subscribe button. Also be sure to hit that like button and also comment down below not just your thoughts on Back to the Future Part 2, your experiences with it, your childhood memories. When was the first time that you saw it? Was it a couple of weeks ago in your adult life? Was it when the 4Ks came out? Let me know your experience with this film, guys, in that comment section below. I love reading those comments down there and just personal experiences from these films because these films mean a lot to me. I know they do to a lot of people as well. And I love hearing those personal stories. So let's get into this film, guys. This movie, again, directed by Robert Zemeckis, produced by Steven Spielberg, starring Christopher Lloyd, Michael J. Fox as Marty McFly and Doc Brown, Leah Thompson. So pretty much the entire cast of the first one returns for this, with a couple of notable recastings that we're going to get to here in a second. The synopsis of this film is: after visiting the future in 2015, McFly must repeat his visit to 1955 to prevent disastrous changes to 1985. So just kind of explaining my history with this film. So when I was a kid and I watched the Back to the Future films, this was always a favorite of mine. I loved going back and revisiting Part 2. And I don't know if it was just the futuristic settings or the fact that they did a lot of different time jumping and time travel. And this one, it just felt more energetic. It just felt grander in scope as far as the story. But I always loved this one as a kid. As I got a little bit older, I just recognized the greatness of the first one and the things that it brought in comparison to the other two. And at this point in time, the first one is my favorite. The first one is in my top 3 movies of all time. So this one doesn't quite reach those heights for me anymore. But when I was a kid, like, I'm a fan of Back to the Future probably because of this film. Like it was this one that really kind of drew me in and helped me become a mega fan of this franchise. That being said, there are a lot of things about this film that I think I like better than the first film. And I want to kind of, not just films I like about the film, but things that I think this one does better than the first one, or things that at least I like more about it. So the first one being, I like how this feels like a larger scale adventure story, a more sprawling time travel epic. Like this one really makes use of that time travel premise, because in the first one, they just go back to 1955 and it's more of just like a period piece type film. There's not a lot of time travel involved other than what happens in the beginning and then what happens later on in the film when Marty gets back to the future. This one's more of like a sprawling epic time travel adventure. Like they're going to the future, 2015. They're coming back to 1985. Then they're going back to 1955, going back to 1985. They really make use of that premise in this movie. That's one of the reasons why I enjoy watching this one so much. And one of the reasons why I think I enjoyed watching it so much as a kid. It just felt bigger and better. Another thing that I like about this one in comparison to the first, again, you go back in time to 1955. So when you meet Doc Brown, played by Christopher Lloyd, that's not the Doc Brown, that's not the real Doc Brown that's in 1985 that created the time machine. In this film, you actually get to spend time with the 1985 Doc Brown. So you get kind of his insights on time travel and like why you don't want to do certain things when you go back in time or you go forward in time, how things can mess up other things, the time paradox, all the stuff that a lot of people can poke holes in and say doesn't really make a lot of sense. But I like that we get to spend time with like what I would say is the real Doc Brown. Like I love 1955 Doc Brown, but that's not the Doc Brown that invented the time machine. I wanted to spend more time with him, and in this movie, we get more of him. And also, you get more of him and Marty just interacting together. I like that this one's more of an adventure with the real Doc Brown and the real Marty McFly as they're traveling through time. Another thing is I love movies that pick up right where the other one left off. It's just like one of the things that I love. You know, Halloween 2 picks up right after Halloween. I love that. I just love movies that do that because it really just makes you feel like you're taking part in like a serialized story adventure, and I just love how all three of these movies just seamlessly go together like that. So I love that about this one, how it picks up right where the other one left off. It is a little weird how they don't use like the same footage from the first film, because it is like the exact same scene in the beginning, but you can tell like the actor Michael J. Fox is a little bit older, and of course Elizabeth Shue has been recast in as Jennifer. So yeah, it was a little strange to me, but I get why they did it, because they had to recast Elizabeth Shue. But it just always feels a little weird in that beginning because it's not the same ending that we saw in the first Back to the Future. Another thing I love the almanac. I just think that's such a smart idea to have incorporated in this universe. The idea of going back and getting the sports almanac from 1950 to 2000 and then betting on all those games. I think they make really good use of that. Such an awesome like villain move for Biff to get that almanac and make himself rich and then go back to the future. And it's so incredibly smart. I've just always loved that aspect of the film. The almanac, it's probably like the most iconic thing of the entire franchise to me, even above the flux capacitor. And then you have the cliffhanger at the end of this movie, which in my opinion is like one of the greatest cliffhangers in like movie history. You know, Marty gets the letter from all the way back in 1885, and you know you're gonna get the part 3 back in the Old West. And I can only imagine being in that theater. And then Doc Brown, as he just sends Marty McFly to the future, the other one comes running up and he's like, I'm back from the future. I love that ending so much. And then just the overall visuals and set design of this one, like the settings that they use for that futuristic setting, like back in the day, like maybe it feels a little dated now, but I still think it looks really good. And we'll get into the visuals, the 4K visuals here in a second, but the set design in this one is just bigger and grander in scope, and you can tell it just was a lot more that was put into it, because not only do you have the futuristic setting, then you go back to 1985 and you got the big Biff hotel, you got the entire like different look of 1985 Hill Valley, because it's all like run down, and then you have that big hotel with Biff in there. So yeah, I just love the visual aesthetic of this film, and yeah, the set design is just absolutely incredible. And again, like I referenced before, I like Elizabeth Shue as Jennifer. She's not in the film a ton, but the other actress that played Jennifer in the first one, her name is escaping me right now. Of course I could look it up, but why do that? Elizabeth Shue, I thought played a better Jennifer. I just like her as an actress more. In general, I thought the actress that was in the first one was a little bit cheesy, but not my favorite performance of the Back to the Future franchise for sure. So yeah, Elizabeth Shue is always a welcome addition. I think she does great in the limited role she has in this movie. Now, getting into some of the things that I don't like about this film. First thing being that since it does make use of the time travel gimmick, and they're traveling through time and everything, there's a lot of different things going on. The focus of the story does feel like it takes a little bit of a backseat as compared to the other two films that don't do a lot of time jumping. It does feel a little less focused in its narrative. It does feel like it loses a little bit of that heart and a little bit of that personal story touch of the first one. But yeah, I still love the movie. It's just something that I notice when I watch it. There's just a lot going on. You don't really get the heart and soul of the characters and their interactions in this one because there's so much going on. Also, the plot, like I said, is way more convoluted. There's a lot of different things to pick apart in this. The most notable thing for me comes right at the beginning. Like, why does Doc Brown, like, who has this time machine, just openly take off and fly with it, like in this neighborhood? There has to be tons of people that saw him take off. And he actually referenced that when they get in the future. Like, we couldn't leave Jennifer there because she saw the time machine. Well, didn't the entire subdivision see the time machine as well? And there's just multiple things in this movie that you could pick apart as far as the time travel and stuff like that, and the mechanics of time travel and who saw what and how what affects other time periods, and because they do a lot of time jumping, and it's very convoluted. But if you don't think about it too much, it's great. Also, the lack of Leia Thompson, I think, was a big mistake mistake. I think that she should have been in this movie a little bit more. Of course, she has the role of the older mother like in 2015, but it's not a lot of time you get to spend with her. And then you have her with Biff in 1985. But besides that, she's not in the movie a ton. And I just wanted more Leah Thompson. I loved her character so much in the first one. I thought she just brought a lot to that movie. And I think that they could have worked her in just a little bit more in this movie and just made it feel a little bit more heartfelt. One of the big things that we have to discuss here is Crispin Glover being recast as George McFly. Now, this is something that I didn't even notice when I was younger. I just thought it was the same actor because he's only in the movie as the older version, the 2015 version. So I just thought they put a lot of makeup on Crispin Glover and that he was just in that part, and then they killed him off in 1985. So it wasn't really important. So you know, I've heard interviews with Crispin Glover about this. He's very upset about what happened. Like, to this day, he will not take part of anything that has to do with Back to the Future. He does not go to the conventions. He doesn't really like talking about it a lot, to be honest. And another interesting thing is in the special features of Back to the Future Part 2, Bob Gale talks about how Crispin Glover wanted a lot of money to come back and do Part 2, and they couldn't reach an agreement. So they basically just said, well, we'll kill you off. We don't need you in this one, which I think was kind of a mistake. I think you did need Crispin Glover. Like I said, he brought a lot of the heart and soul to it. It's a crappy situation. Again, I don't know all the inner workings and mechanics of what happened between him and Bob Gale and Zemeckis. Hopefully they can make amends someday and have a Back to the Future reunion. But it's a very sticky situation, and the actor that they used, Jeffrey Weissman, to replace him, you really notice like the differences in like the performance. Like it's very goofy and over the top, and it makes Crispin Glover upset. And because it makes Crispin Glover upset, it makes me upset. So at the end of the day, guys, for a score for this movie, again, it's not the classic legendary status as the first one. I do really love this movie though, so I'm gonna give it a 4.5 out of a 5 as far as a grade. There are some negatives here. I overlook most of them just because I love this franchise and this movie so much. It is a step down for the first one. So yeah, a 4.5 out of 5 for me. All right, so let's go ahead and get into the 4K visual quality of this one, guys, because I took some screen images, some screenshots of my TV as it was playing. So the thing that struck me the most, and it was like right at the beginning of the film, so when they land in that futuristic setting, a futuristic Hill Valley in 2015, you see that DeLorean come down in the rain, and just how dark and dingy that alleyway is and the black levels and stuff. It looks absolutely phenomenal in that scene, the back of the DeLorean. I took a screenshot of that. This one, I think, to me, I think it looks better than the first one as far as like the quality. Again, I don't think that's the first one's fault necessarily. This one just kind of lends itself more to more vibrant colors and stuff with that futuristic setting. You know, you got Michael J. Fox's hat from the futuristic Marty McFly, the hoverboard, the pink hoverboard, which is also super iconic. A lot of the iconic items of this franchise are in this movie. So yeah, it's a little bit more vibrant. It's a little bit more aesthetically pleasing. Because of that, you do notice the colors in this movie a little bit more, and they really pop and they look absolutely fantastic. So the level of detail in this is just excellent. Again, I took a screenshot of Marty McFly at the end when he's reading that letter in the rain. The close-up on his face when the rain's coming down over it, I've never seen anything like that in these movies before. It looks so incredible. You can just see the droplets in such detail on his face as he's reading that level. So overall, guys, the transfer on this one, so far with both of them, I think that this one's a little bit better, or at least it's a little bit more noticeable as far as like watching it in 4K. It's overall, it's magnificent. I think that this is absolutely phenomenal. The third one, from what I'm hearing, is like the best of the three. So I cannot wait to get to that one. So going into the audio, guys, Dolby Atmos on this one. Again, I don't have this sound system, so I cannot explain it and review it in that way, but to me it sounded great. Great sound mix. The score is absolutely incredible. Again, Silvestri coming back with this absolutely incredible, fantastic score. The soundtrack in this one is great as well. The packaging, let's go ahead and get into the packaging on this one. Again, guys, don't have really much new to show, but I can show you this right here. So I do like how they had like the different color schemes for each one of them. We have that for the first one, that one for the second one. So yeah, I think that's really nice. Again, I don't love the envelope packaging that they have here. I'd rather them use like the Indiana Jones set that just came out that I unboxed yesterday. But, you know, it is what it is. It's okay packaging for the price that you get it for. And going to the special features, it's the same as the Blu-ray on this disc, but you do get all the special features in 4K. There are additional special features that are new to this set that I will highlight in my part 3 when I go over the Back to the Future part 3. So with that, guys, overall solid recommendation for this one. Again, like, this is just one of my favorite movies of all time. I can't hide it. Is it flawed? A little bit flawed, yes. It's not as great as the original, but it's still a damn good, really fun adventure movie. So with some great performances. So definitely recommend this one. I'll give the final recommendation on whether or not you should buy this in my next video, but spoiler alert, I'm probably going to tell you to buy it right now. But with that, guys, I appreciate you watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Like I said, comment down below your personal experiences with Back to the Future Part 2, not just whether or not you like it or not, and turn on all those bell notifications for future videos, and we'll see you next time.